Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Ryan Johnson from Intermittent Fasting with Ryan here, and I'm looking to ditch the yo-yo diets, lose weight, and help you do the same. Over the last 9 months, I've lost 60 pounds on intermittent fasting, and I've learned a lot along the way. And I'm here today to answer your questions about intermittent fasting and what I've been doing to lose the weight and keep it off. So I put out a post a few days ago asking for your questions on intermittent fasting, and I'm going to be answering those today. I'm going to do this kind of like rapid fire. I got a lot of questions I'm going to get through, and I'm going to answer each and every one of those. As well as if you're joining me live, feel free to go ahead and leave a question in the chat, and I'll answer those at the end as well. If you're watching this on the replay, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to leave this up so you can go back and kind of rewatch it. So whether you're live or watching this on the replay, I look forward to answering your questions about intermittent fasting and what I've done to lose 60 pounds in 9 months, and kind of help share some of the stuff that I'm learning along the way to help you do the same. So again, I have been doing yo-yo diets my entire life. For the last 10 to 15 years, I've gained and lost the same 40 to 60 pounds more times than I can count. And I started intermittent fasting about 9 months ago, and I've been able to lose the weight and maintain the weight loss and continue to lose without feeling mentally deprived or snapping, kind of like I used to do with those crash diets and the yo-yos, the ups and downs of dieting. So let's go ahead and get right into the questions. The first question that I got was, and I'm going to read these off, is the biggest question is whether or not this will break my fast. And you can insert this, whether it's diet sodas, cream in your coffee, a little bit of sugar in your coffee, Splenda in your coffee, celery. A lot of questions about whether or not things will break your fast. And this is a two-part answer, but I'm going to keep it simple. One, if it's anything other than water, black coffee, or unflavored tea, that is technically considered breaking your fast. So anything other than water, black coffee, or unflavored tea, it's considered breaking your fast. Absolutely no food and no sweeteners, 0 calorie included, can be taken in and considered still fasting. The caveat to that is really when people ask, can I have insert fill in the blank, will this break my fast? What they want to know is, can they consume a 0 calorie drink or Splenda in their coffee and still be able to lose weight? And if you want to hear my full breakdown of that, I'm going to leave a card up here. You can watch a video specifically on 0 calorie sweeteners. And the answer to that question is, can you consume a 0 calorie drink and still lose weight? And the answer is most likely you can. If you're intermittent fasting for weight loss, consuming a 0 calorie sweetener is not going to completely derail your progress. But if you want to see my take on that, I'm going to leave a link in the description as well as a card up on the screen. You can go watch the video specifically on 0 calorie sweeteners and diet sodas. The next question I got was, how do you cope with the hunger? This person said that they drank a lot of water, but then they're going to the bathroom a lot, so they're looking for ways to help fight off the hunger without necessarily drinking water. And to that, I'd say that there are two things that you can do to help with the hunger associated with intermittent fasting. First is, depending on how far you are in your intermittent fasting journey, the first 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to have some hunger pangs that you're going to have to fight through, which is why I recommend that you don't do more than one healthy habit at a time. The first habit is fasting. Don't change your diet. Just focus on the fast, because you will be hungry in those first 2 to 3 weeks. And you're just going to kind of have to fight through those. But once you get on the other side of that, the hunger kind of slows down a little bit. But if you were still continuing to have hunger pangs, and can't make it through your entire fast, there's two things that I would recommend in lieu of just drinking more water. And the first is drink decaffeinated coffee. There was a study done on decaffeinated versus caffeinated coffee, and the study found that decaf versus regular caffeinated coffee was better at suppressing the appetite. So, if you're having hunger during your intermittent fasting, one thing you can do is have a cup of decaf coffee. The other thing is make sure that you're consuming lean proteins as your last meal before you start the fast. So I personally don't recommend cutting out any kinds of foods. It's not what I've been doing. It's not how I've lost the weight. I don't say any foods are off limits. I just fit them within my feeding window. But I do try to make sure that I'm having my carbs not as the last thing that I'm eating. Because when you have a carb heavy meal right before you go into your fast, it spikes your blood sugar and your insulin more. So that when you wake up the following morning, you have that drop off of blood sugar, which triggers hunger. So I recommend you eat lean proteins kind of as your last meal before you go into your fast. Now, if you want to know, one of the things that I have been consuming is these things called Fastful bars. It's a new product. It's specifically designed for intermittent fasting. It's got micellar protein in it to help you stay fuller longer. And again, I'll leave a link in the description if you want to check those out. So those two things you can do to kind of help fight off your hunger. And again, I did a video specifically on that, and I'll leave a card here on the screen for you to check that out. Now, the next question I got was, will you get all the health benefits of fasting if you never do any long fasts, meaning 25 plus hours, and just do 16/8 daily, essentially forever? If you just do 16/8 and do nothing more than that, will you get all the health benefits associated with weight loss or with intermittent fasting? And to that, you absolutely will get a ton of health benefits by doing nothing but the 16/8 or the 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of feeding. You will get health benefits associated with that if you never do longer fasts. Now, some of those benefits that you do get when you say get over 24 to 36 hour mark is you get into what's called deep ketosis. Essentially, you have depleted all of your glycogen stores in your liver, and you get into what's called deep ketosis, as well as you are in the autophagy phase or the cellular regeneration phase. You're in that for longer when you do the 24 to 36 hour fast, but you still get smaller versions of that in the 16-hour fast. So no, you don't need to do the longer fast to get the health benefits associated with intermittent fasting. You will get a lot of health benefits like regulated blood sugar, decreased ghrelin and insulin levels, which kind of help your hunger and satiety. You will get those with a standard 16-hour intermittent fast. But you don't need to do the longer fast. Now, me personally, I don't do too many longer fasts. Probably once a week I'm doing a 20 to 22-hour fast. And over these last 9 months, again, I've lost 60 pounds, and I have done over 24 hours. I'd have to look back on my fasting app to see, but probably only 2 or 3 times. I think the longest fast that I've done over the last 9 months is I did a 28-hour fast one time. So no, you do not need to do extended fasting to reap the health benefits associated with fasting. Again, if you're joining in live, please feel free, if you have any questions, leave those in the chat and I'll answer those at the end. I got some more questions I'm going to get through. But so the next question was, I've started on Monday and fasting anywhere from 16 to 19 hours. They want to work up to 20, but on the weekends, their fasting times are going to be different. Is that going to change their progress? And the answer is no. One of the benefits of intermittent fasting, for me personally and for a lot of people as a lifestyle, is the flexibility associated with intermittent fasting. So when I first started, I was doing 16 to 18-hour fasts every day, and I made sure to stick to that goal. But I only did that for about the first month until I cemented fasting as a habit. And then at that point, I started to incorporate flexibility into my fasting routine. And I have had no result or no negative effects to my progress. And I actually am able to continue to lose weight because I'm sticking with intermittent fasting. And the reason that I'm doing that is because of the flexibility associated. So if I have a special event coming up where I know there's going to be a lot of food involved and I want to indulge a little bit, I may do a longer fast on those days, 20, 22 hours leading into that, to be able to get my calories and not go over for the day. But then there are some days where, I want to have brunch with my family, especially on the weekends. I'm not necessarily fasting as long, and I'll break and maybe only do 14 hours. But if you change up your fasting schedule from day to day, as long as you are getting, on average, that 16 to 18-hour fast in, it's not going to derail your progress. And in fact, I'd probably encourage it. It's one of the things that I have done to be successful is change up my fasting times and how much I'm consuming on a daily basis, because it keeps my body guessing as to what I'm going to be doing. So the next question was, are there any free apps? So yes, there definitely is. There's a few apps that I have used in the past to track my fasting, but the one that I recommend right now and the one that I'm using to track my progress is Fastic. Again, I'll leave a link in the description. I really enjoy Fastic. One of the things that Fastic has probably over any of the other apps as it relates to fasting is a sense of community. There's a great aspect in the app where you can go and you can have fasting buddies and you can kind of see what their times are, which is just a great encouragement to be able to go and see, what your friends are doing, kind of what their fasts are, as well as there's an amazing Facebook community. I'll leave a link in the description after this video goes up to the Fastic Facebook group. It's a great place to get your questions answered and things like that. So, hey, Baron, I see you there. Thank you very much. I appreciate the shout out. So thank you very much. I hope you're getting value out of this. If you have any questions, please leave them in the chat, and I look forward to helping you out there. So the next question I got was, I can't stop eating rice in my window. My daily TDEE, or total daily energy expenditure, is 1,400. What should I do? Is it okay? And the answer to that is, again, everybody's a little different. I can tell you from my experience, as long as you are tracking your calories and hitting your fast, you are fine to eat rice during your window. No food is off limits. If you have a food that is off limits, it's that kind of mental stepping stone or mental thing that will trip you up. If you have an off limit foods, it makes you feel like you've had defeat and you end up walking away from a diet. So I know, me personally, that's where I have failed every time I've done a diet in the past, is they have been so restrictive that I get down on myself if I have something that's off limits, that I end up quitting and gaining all the weight back. So you can absolutely have rice during your eating window. But one of the things that I would encourage you to do is you experiment. Eat the rice, still hit your fasting windows, and see how your body responds, because ultimately that's what we want to do. Everybody is a little different. I would never recommend an eating plan. I like to show what I'm eating, and I'll leave a playlist here. You can kind of go and see everything that I've been eating. Over the last 10 weeks, I've been putting a video up every week. But I would never recommend you eat exactly what I'm eating, because everybody is a little different. So my recommendation is hit your fast and then try and experiment with different kind of foods. So for me, I know I can have pizza every Friday night and I'm going to be fine. I know if I have pizza 3 nights a week, well, that's when I don't see what I want to on the scale. So it's all experimentation, but there's absolutely no foods that are off limits. I'd actually discourage you from having off-limit foods during your fast. The next question is, what is OMAD? And OMAD is an acronym. It's 1 meal a day. And as you get into fasting, you'll know intermittent fasting, we're kind of our own tribe. We have our own, like any tribe does, we have our own language, and that comes with acronyms as well. And one of those acronyms is OMAD, or 1 meal a day. And it essentially means, you were eating all your calories at a single sitting. It's not necessarily a time, but generally OMAD is considered 23 hours you spend fasting and an hour or 2 you spend eating. Same way we have 16-8, which is 16 hours fasting, 8 hours feeding, 19-5, 19 hours fasting, 5 hours feeding. Again, I'll leave a card here and a link in the description below. I did a video on the 16-8 method of fasting versus the OMAD and talk about the pros and cons of each. Can I eat whole wheat bread? This kind of goes back to the same thing as the rice. Yes, you absolutely can eat whole wheat bread. There are no foods that are off limits. So I see I got a question coming in here, and it says, I have been fasting since December 1st and have not lost any weight. Should I give up? I've been doing 16-8. Maria, you absolutely should not give up. There are some things that maybe we can try, and I'll actually talk through a few of them right here, right now. So, Maria, I know what you're thinking. Sometimes you feel like if you're not seeing the scale move, it is time to kind of throw in the towel. But first off, let me start by saying congratulations. You've been doing 16-8 since December 1st. You're already a month and a half into. You've built an amazing habit of fasting. And the great thing about fasting, I'm going to steal a quote from Fast, Feast, Repeat, which is a book that I just listened to on Audible this week, which was amazing. It is intermittent fasting is a health plan with a side effect of weight loss. So even though you may not have lost any weight, there are still a multitude of health benefits associated with intermittent fasting. So first off, pat yourself on the back for sticking with the 16-8 for this period of time. The second thing I'll say is I'm going to go over two more things I want to cover with you. First is you need to have multiple ways that you are tracking your progress. And I got this from Fast, Feast, Repeat. It's a great book. I recommend Maria pick that book up today, read it. I listened to it on Audible. It's great. But one of the things that I literally just learned from that book was you need to have multiple ways of tracking your progress. And here's what I mean. You need to weigh yourself, but you also need to take measurements. You need to take progress photos, and you need to have a single article of clothing that you put on a consistent basis and see how it fits. Why is that important? Because sometimes we get so fixated on the scale that if we don't see that moving, we think we're not seeing progress. But the reality is, if you're taking multiple measurements, meaning, or multiple ways to measure your progress, meaning you're measuring yourself, if the scale hasn't moved in a month and a half, but you lost a half an inch on your waist, well, that's progress. And, keep going. The other thing is progress photos. I take a weekly progress photo every week. That has been a key to my success, because there have been weeks, especially over this last month and a half, where I have not seen the scale move, but I see improvement in my progress photo because I see increased muscle tone. And then you have a set of clothes that you put on. For me, over the Christmas holiday, I was able to put on a pair of pants that I hadn't worn since college. So the reason that you do multiple ways of measuring is because although you may not see one improvement in one area, progress may be happening in the others. So once you were doing that, Maria, once you were having multiple ways to measure your success, then if I like to say 3 weeks, if 3 weeks goes by and none of those areas are improving, now it's time to make tweaks. So what would that look like for you? If you have been doing 16-8 and you're taking multiple measurements and none of them are improving, then I would recommend you can do one of two things that I would try first. One is try to change up the style of food you were eating. So, maybe look in your diet and see if there's things that you can substitute. For me, that's fried chicken tenders. I'd swap out fried chicken tenders for rotisserie chicken and see if that gets the weight loss back going. Or you can change your fasting and feeding window. So for you, change from 16-8 to try maybe an 18-6. So the first thing I want you to do is get those other ways to measure your success. Take your measurements, do that today. Take your progress photo. It doesn't have to be something you share with anybody, just for yourself. Take it in the same place every week and have that one set of clothes that you can try on. Because if a set of pants is looser in 2 weeks than it is today, but the scale hasn't changed, well, that's still progress. If you're tracking all of those and you still don't see progress, then you can maybe look at changing a single thing in your diet, or look at changing your fasting time. You don't want to change too much. Just change one thing and see if you get the results you're after. So, Maria, I hope that helps. But really, I would just encourage you to stick with it. Congratulations already. Again, you're a month and a half into a great lifestyle. Understand that the results aren't going to come fast, and we don't want fast results. We want forever results. So if you do what I just talked about here, you're going to have great success. And I got somebody saying, hey, fresh trim, thank you very much. I actually just went to the barbershop today. and got that. So thank you very much. And I'm going to do 2 more questions here, and then I'm going to sign off. One of the questions is, um, hey, beginner, and I'm not really sure what to do. How do we know how long to fast? Also, I get moody after fasting for 10 hours or longer. Any tips on how to help with that? So if you don't know what to do, I'm going to leave a card here on the screen talking about my overall approach to intermittent fasting. I recommend a stair-step approach, which essentially means you only pick up one habit at a time. I don't want you changing your diet. I don't want you tracking calories. I don't want you going to the gym if you're not already going to the gym. Just do one habit at a time. That's the best way to start. And the first habit is fasting in and of itself. So don't change your diet, don't change anything but fast. And again, I'll leave a video on the screen and in the description below talking about my overall approach. And as far as the mood goes, I would say some of that will kind of work itself out after you've been fasting for that 3 weeks to a month, because your hormone levels kind of are changing as your body goes through and adapts to intermittent fasting. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it for today. Again, if you are new to intermittent fasting or interested in finding out how to start with intermittent fasting or want to see what I've been eating over the last 10 weeks, I'm going to leave some videos on the screen now. I encourage you to check those out. Remember that willpower is a limited resource. We're not looking to lose weight fast. We're looking to lose weight forever. So thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you over there. Bye.